Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Hidden Layers Diversity in Design. Today is episode 8, and for episode 8, we have the wonderful Emily in the house. Emily, please introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and where you're based.
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Emily Chin. I'm from South London, based in my little studio in South London. I'm an illustrator and graphic designer, running for the last 4 years, both digitally illustrating prints that I sell across London and also offering branding work for local independent businesses.
Nice. And for people that don't know Emily, please, I will leave her handle on my Instagram. Visit our website. She do amazing prints. Now I have mine here at the back, but I have a bunch of them here in the pocket. And please, yeah, I wanted to ask you, you said illustrator and graphic designer. Was art something that started immediately for you, or was you always a kid that draw, or did you start first as a graphic designer? How was your journey when you was younger?
Um, Probably typical of most creatives. I've been drawing and painting from a child. This was very much
Mm-hmm.
encouraged by my parents, and I was able to exercise this beyond like just fun and hobbies. Like I done my GCSEs in art and graphic design. I done my A levels in fine art and graphic design. I done a
Mm-hmm.
foundation in art and graphic design, and then I done my
Nice.
bachelor's in graphic and media design. So I think I've always only really ever known creativity. I've only ever
Mm-hmm.
known some form of creative outlet, whether it's painting, drawing, or digital. Yeah.
Nice. The reason why I wanted to bring you here today is because obviously I know your work, we know each other, but I think I love your mindset by doing even chin chin prints because for some reason I've done illustration my whole life, but I've moved into prints recently. I would say I'm very, I'm a newbie. I'm super bad in a shop, but I've seen your tables and I've seen you in markets, and I'll be honest, I was very impressed because even your last table that you showed me the picture, well, there was everything you wanted for like as an artist. So my question would be like, what pushed you from a traditional design job to opening your own shop and handling it by yourself, right? Because I remember, yeah, by yourself, perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
You see,
solo.
how how do you move from doing design into chin chin prints?
Chin Chin Prince was a happy accident. So my background, like I said, I graduated with a degree in graphic and media design, and I think at the time you was kind of given a like only one path, which is that you find a job, whether it's agency or in house. Like you now
Mm-hmm.
exercise your degree, you find somewhere that you can work, and you just kind of build your career. And I did do that. I was fortunate enough to work for several in-house companies as a graphic designer and as a UX and UI designer. But it got to the point just before COVID where I was happy and like I loved what I'd done, but I think there is part of you that kind of acknowledges for as long as you're designing for other people, you're never really exploring your true creative like
Mm-hmm.
essence. And then when lockdown hit, I had an abundance of time. We went fully remote. I had my evenings back. I no longer
Mm-hmm.
commuting. So I started doing the digital illustrations more. And then I think I posted one on Instagram. I done one for my mum because at the time she was decorating. I was like, yeah, I'll create something to fill that space on your wall. And then I started to get DMs from strangers like, hey, you selling this as a print? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I was just kind of showcasing it. They're like, oh, well, if you do, like, can I buy it as a print? I was like, yeah. I was perplexed that somebody would buy one of my illustrations. Like, I think as I'd spent the last like previous 8 years only designing for a purpose, like to convert for other people's businesses, I couldn't believe that someone would just want my drawings for the sake of having it on their wall. So that kind of
Mm-hmm.
started it very slowly. I made an Etsy page. I was like, okay, well, if people are really interested in this, let me try offer a couple more prints. So I think I had a collection of maybe 10 locations in South London that were like iconic places for South Londoners. And then it kind of just snowballed really quickly. I remember juggling my job full time and then trying to like fulfill orders in the evenings, going to the post office and queuing up on my lunch breaks. And it got to
Mm-hmm.
the point where I started to realize, wait, I think I can maybe do this full time. And then
Mm-hmm.
as I started to ponder on that idea of whether this could be a full time job, I started to get approached by my first ever stockist was from a buyer from Liberty London department store who said, "I love your work
Wow.
to stock it in store and online." And I can remember just being again in disbelief, like we're not taught when we graduate that this is a conventional career.
Mm,
So it took a lot of, I don't know, the world convinced me before I convinced myself. And then,
yeah.
yeah, so I think it was a happy accident. I was able to quit my
Mm-hmm.
job after maybe 3 years of doing it part time. I went full time in 2022, the end of 2022. And then, yeah, it's kind of snowballed. The more I realized I can do my own thing and still survive, it's kind of
Yeah.
flourished.
But I believe a lot in destiny. Look, I agree. I agree. Listen, I don't know how to say it. I believe it's destiny as well because it's true that they don't teach us the different opportunities that you can have when you finish your education. They always teach us like do the same things as a collective of people. But I think like the fact that you wanted to do something different have brought you in a place where people start paying attention to what you did because you did something different by yourself as well. Plus, I would like to ask you one thing. As a shop owner, I think like I started now my prints. Obviously, I didn't know how to price them. I didn't know how to put them on display and everything. But I feel like for somebody that opens a shop as big as yours, it's very hard to manage delivery if you do it personally, right?
Mhm. It's been very challenging. I've been really fortunate
Mm-hmm.
that my, I would say, quote unquote, village growing up, like most
Mm-hmm.
of my friends are either entrepreneurs or really business savvy. So I've been able to take really good gems from people around me who maybe not are they're not necessarily conventional creatives, but they are very savvy in how to operate a business using business techniques. So I think I have adopted a lot of the gems from people around me, which has been great. But also I have amazing family and friends who are always willing to help. Like I would be lying if I said like I'm solely on my own all the time. Like when I have markets, the prep work for a market
Mm-hmm.
is insane. Like you're packing up to 400 units of stock just to make sure you don't,
Yeah.
just in preparation for one day, you can literally can take a week to prepare. So I
Mm-hmm.
have like my family and friends who will come and like do a conveyor belt system, like we're packing as if we're a
Yeah.
factory. And granted, it's not sustainable in the long term, but it is a really lovely and fulfilling process. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
when you're a creative, you put a lot of hours into your work, in
Mm-hmm.
creating actual work, but I think there's also beauty in like the preparation of preparing your work to be sold for other people, whether that's in
Yeah.
prints or in other mediums. Like the craft of like folding or prepping, it does allow
Mm-hmm.
you to kind of like honor your work one last time before it goes out into the world. So it is a really lovely process.
I love it, but I'll be honest with you. The first time I did it, I was scared. I even asked you for recommendation. You remember? Because I don't know. I just feel like every time you touch your product, tell me if I'm wrong, yeah. But I have this mindset: it can always be better. So whenever I'm touching it, I'm looking at it, and I start becoming super judgmental of everything I do. Shall I roll it like this? Shall I roll it upside down? Shall I put it on the? Is it something that happened to you even today?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Like
Well,
you never know when to end because there's no, like you say, there's no brief, right? You're going solely
hmm
off what's in your imagination. And when you're creative, your imagination doesn't stop. So when you're designing, there's always going to be extra shadows you can do, extra
yeah,
texture you can add. And then even once you've printed it, oh, but I can display it in this type of format. Oh, it would look better. I think you have to trust yourself at a certain point to know when it's ready to let go. And even if you let
hmm
things go, one thing I've learned more recently is like you can deploy many versions of the same thing. So
yeah,
I conventionally started solely only selling prints and cards, which worked great. Like
hmm
there was no flaw in this business model. But the
hmm
more I done this, the more I realized, wait, I've got so many designs that can now be printed on coasters, on tea towels, on tote
yeah,
bags. And
yeah,
whilst it is expensive or can be expensive in the beginning to try all these mediums, because if I'm being real, like not all of them
hmm
do well. Not everybody wants your
yeah,
design on everything, right?
hmm
I think there's a really lovely way to kind of get a feeler from your audience. Like this is why I love
yeah,
doing it's because you get to meet your the people who support your work in real life.
hmm
Like you get to
hmm
have these conversations. They can tell you what really works for them, what they love, what maybe they haven't really taken to and why. There's always to evolve based on how other people are absorbing your work.
hmm I think it's also about experimentation because obviously, if you said like you started with postcard and just prints, I think people didn't know you for maybe doing blankets or like towels or like doing different kind of things, even a keyring. That's why I think sometimes you might spend a lot in experimenting, but then when it starts to flow within your work and people start knowing, she also do this, it kind of change the trajectory. If I'm correct, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, even the evolution of my mediums has been quite recent. Like I only launched my keyrings last year, and it was a
So
risk. It was a very big
yeah.
risk, but I can remember I sold out. I went quite timid on the numbers I'd done my first order on, and I wasn't confident they would do well. They sold out on my first ever market, and I can remember being like, "How am I going to get enough stock for Christmas?" And you
hmm
have to be reactive, but you also, like you said, need to trust that it probably will work if you believe in it and if you get in front of the
Yeah.
right people. But that even that part, getting in front of the right people, is the hard part. Not
hmm
everyone, especially me, like social media isn't my strength, and I'm aware that
Yeah.
I'm in an untapped market. But there's so many ways to put your products or your designs in front of people before you make the investment to buy
hmm
or inventory. Like you can do small runs and test and trial.
Yeah. So for the people that follow, if you want to know how to open your shop, please talk to Emily. She knows it all. Trust me. If you see how much stuff she has, you will be surprised. Anyway, the funny thing is, like when I met you, obviously we met through a few events. I came and visit you at the market as well. And you know what? It's funny because when I see you, you let my imagination go wild. Because the first thing I did was like, wow, this is actually a very cool way to actually sell your art, being a little bit more independent and also not having to rely on rushing and running always after the next freelance job. And I'm just talking as a freelancer. I had some great days. I have some fantastic moments, but it's also true that the more you work, you have to stay on trends. You always have to chase new clients after 2, 3 times because I do illustration. So I don't think like big companies will always use the same illustrator. They need a refresh every now and then. So when I saw you, you actually, it's weird. I feel like doing what you do actually give you an additional freedom to actually play with your creativity, but also if it works well and you push yourself hard at the beginning, I think, is it true that you struggle more at the beginning when you're setting out like your work, choosing location, or is it something? Okay, let me put the question like this: have it always worked straight away for you, or going in different location actually have taught you how to move within? Does it make sense what I'm trying to ask? Because I think not everything works, but when is the time that you actually was like, wow, okay, I can focus on it? Was it a specific place or?
It's really difficult. Like I think I was really blessed in the beginning that everything I produced done well. Like every single thing back to back continuously. I launched maybe like 20 products in a row and all of them were received very well. And I think that kind of gave me a sense of security and stability that like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, as long as I create what I want, people will like it. But then the
Mm-hmm.
more I started to listen to people and people started to request specific things like, oh, you haven't done this area. Could you draw here? And then that's when I kind of got knocked a little bit off of my own path. Like,
Mm,
oh, people who support me, the people who are making this a reality for me are talking, I should listen.
mm,
And whilst there is really important information in listening, I think at one point I leaned too far into making sure I was making everybody happy. And that's when I saw
yeah.
a dip, like a dip in just how it was being received, whether people were
Yeah.
buying things. And this wasn't to discredit that people weren't giving me valuable ideas, but I learned
Mm-hmm.
my biggest lesson, which is that I have to prioritize my own creativity in the process of absorbing other people's feedback and suggestions. Because I feel like when people offer suggestions, it's based on what they would love to receive in that
They
moment.
personally.
And
Yeah.
I think it's physically impossible to make everybody happy. So you kind of have
Exactly.
to gauge it on like, will this be received well by enough people to make this worth the investment of my time,
Mm-hmm.
resources, and
Mm-hmm.
energy, right? But I think it's very easy to become a designer for consumption. But I think
Mm,
if I was to give any advice or even a reflection into kind of a key point for me is as long as I stay true to my creativity and like really give energy and time into allowing my own ideas to blossom, that's probably when my products have done their best. Like I used the
mm-hmm,
keyring, my most recent example. That was solely just like, let me just see if this does well. And it's probably been my bestseller to date. Like every time I do something
mm-hmm,
that's solely based on just like, this makes me happy. So I hope it makes other people happy. It kind of has. And I don't want that to be perceived as like, I know best. But I think when you are
no,
a
no, no.
creator, you have to trust your skills and your talents and that you hope that it's received. And if it is received, it's then sustainable because you didn't source
Mm-hmm.
it from anywhere else other than yourself.
Yeah, and listen, I totally agree because also me as an illustrator, I've never listened to no one, and it's not because I'm stubborn, it's because I've always believed like there are different ways of doing things. Like we have to get out of this boundary of saying there's a wall in front of us. There's no wall. If you want there to be a wall, there's a wall. If you want, if you want it to disappear, it will disappear. The only thing is like the more I'm doing this podcast, something that comes out a lot is being unique and being true to yourself. And I think that's what makes what you did very special. Because that was you. You did it with intention of how you felt in that moment. And that is actually what connects you to the client that you have. Because even me, sometimes I have this customized pieces, but it's just going to be that one single piece for that specific client. And I will never max produce it because that is what makes it unique to you. But obviously, if you have a shop, I agree. You cannot really make everybody happy and you need to stick to what you do. Quick question, because I've never asked you this. You do a lot of things for South. Was the person asking you to do a different area that wasn't South?
It wasn't South London.
And you see, that's why you went wrong because I'm from South
Yeah.
London too. So,
Yeah.
so you see what
No,
I mean?
for real. For real.
So it's funny
My
because
loyalty to South London needs to, I feel like it's because I broke the South London loyalty code. I got punished for it. But I'm back.
yeah.
I'm back.
No, no, but listen. But it's funny because a lot of people always tell me South London, South London. But for me, South London, there's something. That's why when I saw your work, immediately I was like, go South, because I'm from South London and as a foreigner in London, I don't know. I've always feel like South London, there's this strong bond of community. People look, even if you go in a dodgy area or something, there's always this sensation of unity or people looking after each other. So that's why when I saw the South London thing in you, I really love that because it's, nobody actually did something specific for South London, I think.
Yeah.
I can tell you artists representing or mentioning South London or their area, they rep the code and everything, but not a lot of people that are focused and targeted in an area like that. So I think like it's a good point of view because people from the area actually need something like that. Is doing stuff for South London something that have brought you more opportunities within your career? Have you worked a lot with local people in the South London community?
Yeah. So it's funny you say this. Like I genuinely believe my business has been able to be as successful it is because of the love that South London people have for South London. And that's, I think, as much as like people are really proud of where they're from around London,
Mm-hmm.
I do think
Yeah.
there is something really special about South London and South Londoners where we know the value of what we have. And that means it's
Yes.
important for us to nourish it, whether it's shopping local, supporting local creatives, having local initiatives. Like we are very proud and we are very loyal. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I've always tried to make sure is accommodated, even just with aside from the illustrations. Like I know that all of my illustrations or predominantly are South London focused, but this has allowed me to meet other South London businesses and work with
Mm-hmm.
South London businesses in my graphic design world as well, which is like it's as important as my illustration stuff. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
probably my spotlight or my, I guess, how people have come to know me is through my illustrations, but my background
Mm-hmm.
is plus 10 years of graphic design and branding work. So it
Yeah.
does sometimes feel like I don't want to ever lose that side of my skill set, because I do love working with
Mm-hmm.
small businesses, and I have been really
Mm-hmm.
privileged to work with South London businesses to help them develop their branding, their logos, their just
Mm-hmm.
beyond just, I guess, tangible prints. Like I gave
Yeah.
one of my favorite clients that I've worked with is Bunhead Bakery, which is two lovely women who have opened a Palestinian bakery, and I met them through doing markets. So it's like
Nice.
everything kind of goes full circles. And I think as long as you
Yeah.
stay true to what you're passionate about, which is South London, you have the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to meet other South Londoners. You're able to pour back into your community more than just, I guess for me, more than just prints. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think it's funny, but a lot of time when I talk, like, look, I'm a foreigner, yeah, so I'm repping South London, but I'm half Italian, half Nigerian, so I've been a little bit all around. But it's funny, like when I talk to a lot of people that come in London or like tourists and stuff like that, whenever you talk to them, oh, I love London, I love, oh, where have you been? I've been Knightsbridge, I've been here, I've been all center area, very popular. They don't see it doesn't seem that they go and adventure a little bit deep down the city. Because I remember when I went to Brixton like this, you have this, back in the days at least, you would come out of the underground, immediately Jamaican music like this. I would just be like, oh, wagwan, wagwan. And it's funny because I'm not Jamaican, but there's something about the culture and the community living there that just exists in the air that you breathe. So I will always say this, like, even if it's niche, South London, what I respect about your work is actually you are bringing South London on the map. So a lot of people that don't know about South London through your work will be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was South. Like there are certain things that I don't know as a foreigner, but then when I sit down, I'm like, oh, so they have a theater, they have this, they have that. And if you go Bricks and Stockwell, there are so many things I can mention you. There's so many things, but people sometimes have this stereotype in their mind. Oh, is the area is a bit like this? The area is, but in reality, it's not. And I think
Mhm.
like by doing what you are doing, you're actually repping the community and allowing people to come even and visit certain areas or have a debate like, wow, have you ever been in South London? Come, man, we have this, we have that. And that is encouraging, I think, like, even if it's niche, is a beautiful niche because I think South is beautiful and for people should just adventure themselves more within the city. And please, no hate from people from East, West, or North, wherever you are. Here's all love on the podcast, but obviously South we have to represent. One last thing I would like to ask you is like in general, like as an artist, we always need to evolve. And I think the beautiful thing about what you said is you do your prints that Chin Chin Prints is your baby, obviously, but you also still work within the design field, branding and everything. Where do you see yourself in a few years time? And what would you like to see more?
That's a good question. I'm really bad at future talking. Like I feel like if I plan too far ahead, I get nervous about if I don't achieve it or if it doesn't happen or if I'm or not necessarily out of failure, but if life offers me
Mm-hmm.
different opportunities and that
You would take
divert
it.
path, you're right. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm speaking like very loosely, things that I would love to still be doing chin chin. It's in like
Okay.
illustrations, whether it's still buildings and South London focus, like South London will always have my heart and I'll always like champion South London wherever I
Mm-hmm.
can. Whether this is still my focal point, I'm not sure. Like I'm very conscious of boxing myself in. Like I want to be able to
Mm-hmm.
explore beyond South London. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I still want to be producing illustrations and art for other people to have and enjoy. I also would love to work with way more small independent businesses. I know how much joy that brings me. I know like it can feel really intimidating for businesses when they're first in their infancy trying to figure out who they are or visually how they want to present themselves. And so I
Mm-hmm.
would love to have opportunities to work with a lot more small independent businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the bigger ones, which I've discussed with you before, is like I'd love to get into workshops. I think creativity can be a very like isolating experience if you're like me where I work for myself, I'm in my studio most of the
Mm-hmm.
time on my own. And I think also I'm surrounded by people who maybe admire what I'm doing but don't feel brave or
Yeah.
confident enough to explore it themselves because they don't believe they're conventionally creative or they haven't had a creative career so far and they believe that that's not their destiny. So
Mm-hmm.
if I could create spaces where people who haven't yet explored or nurtured their creativity, they can come and figure it out in a workshop style that's quite
Mm-hmm.
intimate and explorative. But yeah, TBC, I haven't figured out what that will be, but
That's
that's
fine.
probably like if I'm future thinking, I'd love that to be on the cards for me.
No, but I totally understand you because I always had dreams, but then when I reach my dreams, I move on to bigger things. So it's like before for me, like I think in my career, apart having like a personal exhibition, like a solo exhibition, I've actually almost achieved anything I wanted personally. But now I think my focus is more, you see, on working with the community, helping others not to struggle like how I'm doing, how I struggled in the past. And also like investing time into younger generation. That's why when you was talking about workshop, I think it's quite great because it brings people together. You can learn something together, but also unity is power, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. Maybe could you just give us a spoiler of what would you like to do extra within your shop? Let's say, like as a product, what is a product that you always wanted to do that if you could have the skills to do, can be something crazy, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Oh,
know, if you could do something unique that Chin Chin prints, unique excellency, what will it be?
oh, this is a good question. I
Is there any skill that you would like to learn for the future of Chin Chin?
I am really keen on pushing medium. So like last year I dabbled very loosely in screen printing. This year and the end
Okay.
of last year I tried lino printing, but like my background is in fine art. So tangible art is what gets
Mm,
me like, really excited.
yeah.
I'd love to be able to offer create like my creative output in mediums that are not digital. So like screen printing, lino printing, riso printing, any type of
Mm-hmm.
non-digital format. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like it has to be yeah, I don't think it's specific. It just needs to be made with my hands. I want to be able to create more with my
Okay.
yeah.
That's super amazing. Hey, it will never die, I think. Traditional art is always that medium that will never die for me, I think. And yeah, Emily, it was beautiful having you today with me. And for people following us, please, please, please show some love after the episode. And I will make sure to put all your links, the shop from Emily online. Thank you again. And
Thank
have
you.
everyone a good day. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.